knowing that there's some fucking
just some little kid
nerdy
dicking around,
twink guy on a fucking video game Xbox controller, like killing me and my friends.
And you've got
fucking grenades.
You've got the training in your mind from growing up with movies that you should grab the grenade and throw it, right? Like that's the fight. You've got to fight that instinct. Go like, no, I should totally just grab it and throw
off
it
the ground.
Yeah, is that not? That's my main concern: getting a grenade dropped on me from
that you're
going
to
to
be trying to be a
That you
hero.
won't have enough time to throw it.
You got to grab it out of the air as it's falling.
I'm going to revert to this instinct that I learned from movies of, oh, yeah, here you go.
Maybe you could do a sort of like upward kick.
Like
type move.
Pele.
I just wonder what those Russians are thinking. They're like, oh my God, I got a great position here in this trench. Going to take a little nap. Nothing could go wrong. And this kid just flies a little drone and just drops a fucking bomb on his head.
I will say, outside of the fact that we're giving them all of our money, it is kind of cool with the whole Ukraine and Russia thing that it is happening on the other side of the world and we don't really have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Isn't that like all
Okay, now I think
America,
well, that's
most
every,
American
that's kind of every
interventions.
single America. That's the nice thing about having all the oceans between us.
Yeah.
We're pretty detached.
Okay, now I think
But there's all this fucked up shit going on in Mexico, but none of us are really worried about it creeping on up to here, right? Yeah. Besides the fentanyl and shit, I guess.
That's why whenever they get us, we get so upset. You know, Pearl Harbor, we're like, oh man, you guys came all the way over here.
Yeah.
9/11, we're like, you motherfuckers, this is our like little space.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do that in your sandy hell.
I hate when people act like, oh, like fucking Americans.
What a
like,
pain in
oh,
the ass.
shit about 9/11. Like, no, that is our right.
Wait,
to
who the fuck said that?
I think a lot of people feel like, you know, it's kind of hypocritical for us to have killed like millions of Afghani people.
Okay,
and
hold
that
on.
we're that
Firstly,
concerned.
Okay, now I can hear myself.
Millions of Afghani people, number
Oh,
one.
better.
Okay.
We wanted to, but
Maybe.
we held back.
Also, number two, I'm pretty sure that 9/11 was like the biggest terror attack in the world for like 37 different fucking countries. Because I think
Okay,
that
how
like
about
the
now?
foreign nationals that died in the World Trade Center was like the biggest terrorist attack for like Sweden or whatever.
Hassan said it was good though, right?
He did.
Yeah.
9/11 was good?
Yeah,
you think
Hassan
so?
loves it.
I hate that you can be edgy if you're a progressive. You can
Maybe
make like
find
the
some
edgiest
better
jokes you want
fucking
about
testing
white
set
people
up for
or
this
men
shit.
or whatever.
Didn't he get banned for saying cracker?
Yeah, for like because I fucking ratted him out. I went hard on Twitter. I got those motherfuckers.
Wait,
banned.
did you deplatform?
Fucking
You
hypocrite.
fucking believe it, dude. I was
Oh,
like,
you
these
better
motherfuckers-
apologize to Nick
fuck
Fuentes
these
right
guys.
I want to
now.
see this clip on Dave Rubin's Twitter.
Hmm.
Go. Defend yourself. Why is it okay for you to do it to him?
No, it wasn't. I don't think I deplatformed, but I complained a lot that like because
Assuming it's her
Twitch is
one,
very,
just
very, very,
fuck
very, very,
buddies
very,
or
very
something.
racially sensitive in their TOS to fucking anything that's even remotely
Yeah.
bad. And having this guy going like, oh fuck crackers, the Mayo side, kill all white people. It's like, bro, that's so fucking stupid. Like you have to understand how horrible you look and how horrible you make all of us look when you say shit like this. Like you can't defend any like progressive anything when you guys do this shit. It's so fucking annoying.
It is true. We got to set a line in the sand and be like, listen, you just can't say that stuff. Like, you know, why?
Not if you're gonna be so fucking sensitive on the other. Not if everything is like racism and white colonialism. And that's fine. If you want to say everything is, that's fine. But you can't get up here and be like, oh, kill all men are rapists and kill all fucking white people. It's like, bro, come on.
Yeah, we have that problem on the right too.
Anybody
It's
can
like
do
it's
it.
any
That's
new
okay.
platform
okay.
we have, like, okay, chat's open. And like, guys, can you just? Why aren't you saying it? Why aren't you saying it? Like, I just don't really want to say it right now.
I don't know if
yeah,
like,
right,
yeah,
pussy.
true. I feel like the G's on these guys' keyboards must be worn out by now, as much as they fucking.
that and the brackets, they just put them around everything.
Yeah, what's all that about? You want to explain?
I have
for
a
us?
problem with the Jewish community, and they like to identify them with
brackets.
brackets.
But I think we
where that
should
comes from.
we
What?
should probably be going out of our way to normalize canceling people for saying bad things about white people, right? Or at least trying in vain. Because it does
There we
seem
go,
like that's
now we
probably
know.
a really bad thing for the future of society
No, I
if
think-
it's okay to say that white people suck and not okay to say that about literally any other ethnic
Well, it's
group.
driving people insane. It's
Yeah.
making people go like, well, next they're going to come into my house and kill me. And it's like, no, they're just stupid idiot
Yeah.
activists who say this shit.
We should
But it
try to
drives-
force people to be ideologically consistent on this and say that it's wrong to say hateful things about any race.
I think
right?
it's making people more racist the other way too. Like a
Agreed.
lot of these guys, I'm
Disagree.
thinking
I
you
guess it
guys don't
works, like,
really want to say
all
the
the time,
N-word that
basically.
much. You just like you can't do it and it's not fair. And I feel that too. Like if you tell me not to say something and I feel like I'm being treated unfairly, I just want to break the rules until I get kicked out. Like there's so many guys that's part of being American for a lot of us, for a lot of American men. Anyway.
Don't tread on me.
Yeah, exactly.
My N-word usage. But I think what's happens is everybody, the unfairness. Human beings, we automatically recognize when a situation is unfair.
Is it gonna
Monkeys
break
recognize when a
my
situation is
compressor?
unfair.
I don't
I
think
make you
so.
watch the video. where they pay the monkeys differently. Have you ever seen that one?
Oh, and they start throwing the
Yeah,
reward.
he
they
gives
get
one
for
monkey.
Yeah.
They do the same task. One gets a cucumber, one gets a grape, and the one getting the cucumber.
Okay, there we
what
go.
the fuck? Cucumbers suck. I'm doing the exact same shit as that fucking monkey. Why is he being rewarded and I'm being punished? So it's an instinctual fucking thing in animals. And then you go, hey, it's okay for these guys to shit on you and your race and everything about your culture, but if you do the same thing to them, we're gonna ban you and you're removed from society. And it drives people fucking nuts. They're the monkey with the cucumber going like, I'm gonna fucking,
Yeah.
fuck those guys, and now I'm even more racist than I ever was.
Yeah.
You do have to make the rules fair because like it just drives people up a fucking wall. I think this is what happened to Scott Adams. He goes,
Yeah.
it's not fair. So now I'm gonna say all blacks are a hate group and all white people need to move away from it. And you're like, just
Which
make
is
Dilbert
weird.
cartoons. All you have to do is make Dilbert cartoons.
To be fair, the Scott Adams guy's been going crazy for fucking years.
Yeah,
That
but this
bro-
is
bro-
part of
See what
what's
that young
driving him
pussy
crazy.
did to him? Messed up his brain, man.
But she just left him.
Yeah,
Oh.
and that's why.
So
you
that
know,
might have
that's
been
why
what
he's
triggered
even
this.
more unhinged.
Allegedly,
Yeah.
she just left him.
Probably
Also,
probably for a black guy.
she has like 1.4 million followers on Instagram, and her likes are pretty trash. So I'm just saying,
Oh.
maybe she did him a favor by piecing out.
but it takes
Yeah.
people like Scott Adams, who I want to
It is crazy. It is crazy to use federal tax dollars to indict a former president for no crime, and then when we try to investigate, to take us to court. But that is exactly what happened this last week. And it is crazy for these federal agencies to be turned against the American people, to be weaponized against we the people like we see, and in particular the ATF. It is crazy to make you a criminal if you have a stabilizing brace for your pistol. But they did that. And it is crazy to shut down gun dealers for
Are you
minor
fucking
paperwork
kidding?
violations. but
Okay,
they're
that
doing
will.
as well. Think about it. I mean,
Disingenuous,
sometimes
but I
you gotta
guess
let
if you're
this
gonna
sink in about how
part,
serious the time we
fucking
live in.
pander to your goddamn
Think about
base.
this. First, they want to make you a criminal for having a firearm accessory that they said was okay for a decade. Then they want to shut down the places
Oh.
where you can purchase a firearm. That from the ATF. In fact, in 2 weeks, we plan on passing legislation that will overturn that ATF rule when it comes to the pistol brace, passing it out of the Judiciary Committee.
Oh.
All those crazy things. That's why what you're doing, standing up for Second Amendment liberties, for freedom, is so darn important. And understand what we're up against. I always say, the left has a template. The left has a way they go about business. It's the same playbook all the time. The left will tell a lie. Big media will report the lie. Big tech will amplify the lie. And then when you try to tell the truth, they try to censor you. They call you a racist. They call you fascist. They come after you. The cancel culture mob, the left, the whole thing comes after you. If you're a mom and dad going to a school board meeting, you're called an extremist. If you're pro-life, you're called a radical traditional Catholic. And the FBI tries to infiltrate the church that you go to. We found that out this past week. Information we got from the FBI. And if you believe in the Second Amendment, they'll call you some MAGA hillbilly from flyover country, right? That's what they do. I mean, I'm in that category. I'm from right next door in God's country, Ohio. That's what we're up against. Yeah, we got some Ohioans here. So I just came to say thank you. Thank you for being in the fight. Thank you for being part of this great organization, this organization that is committed to protecting freedom. I learned a long time ago, good things don't just happen. You want to accomplish things of meaning and significance, you got to get off the sideline and get in the game. And you were doing that. So thank you for doing that. It's not easy. You're going to get attacked. You know that. It happens all the time. The press is going to attack us. In the press, they always get it right. I tell my colleagues in Congress, if the press isn't saying something bad about you, you're probably not doing anything any good, right? That's just how it works. I love what Cal Thomas, syndicated columnist, Cal Thomas had a great line when he was talking about the way normal people, like folks here today, view things, and the way the elite national media, like the New York Times, looks at things. And he had a great line. He says, I get up
That's
every morning, I
fucking
read my
pretty
Bible in
dangerous,
the New
man.
York Times so I can see what each side's up to. A lot of truth to that. So thank you for being in the fight. Thank you for helping the good people who do run for office, who go and fight for the things that make our country special. And in particular, well, you're kind. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Sit down, sit down. You're very kind. I really want to thank you for helping President Trump over these last years. What they've done to this man, what they've done to a president who did more what he said he would do when he was our leader, when he was our commander-in-chief, than any president I have ever seen. Thank you for standing by him. You think about, they spied on his campaign, they raided his home, now they indict him, they've been after him. But in spite of everyone being after him, he said he would reduce regulations. He did. He said he would cut taxes. He did. He said he would build the wall. He did. He said he would put the embassy in Jerusalem. He did. He said he would get us out of that crazy Iran deal, and he did. He said he would put conservatives on our highest court, and he did. And a whole bunch of other things he got done. And he did it with everyone. He did it. President Trump did it with everyone in that town against him. Every Democrat was against him. Everyone in the mainstream press was against him. Half the Republicans were against him. And maybe most importantly, all the bureaucracy was against him. But in spite of that, he did what he told us, we the people, that he would do. And I so appreciate that attitude.
Eat some fucking animals. Watch some fucking drama.
So thank you so much by standing by him. What he's been through, I don't know of anyone who could. He stood up to it, and he always says this, and it's so true. He fights for us. He stands. They come after him because he's fighting for us. That is so true. That is so true. Let me just finish by saying this. It is a tough time for our country, and I do believe our freedoms and our rights are under assault by the very government that's supposed to serve us. But never forget, it's the greatest country ever, and we have risen to the occasion every single time there's been a challenge, every single time there's been some obstacle, some difficulty. We as Americans rise to the challenge. We'll do it again. We got to have the right attitude. I call it the attitude that Paul talked about in Scripture. My favorite Scripture verse, 2 Timothy 4:7. Paul's the old guy, gives advice to the young guy. What's he say? Fight the good fight, finish the course, keep
following the same fucking cookie cutter. They get up there, they say a bunch of shit, they fucking suck Trump's dick for a minute, and then they move on to a couple Bible verses and then go down. It's just getting fucking boring. Okay. Trump's at 4:30.
faith. An area who invited us to come down for dinner. It's this time of year, summertime of year. And they said, we were free that evening. We said, yeah, we'll come down. And they said, well, before we go to dinner, we want to tour the Wright brothers' home there in Dayton. We said, great.
Unflinching plan to dismantle Marxist prosecutorial regime.
Great, we love that. We love to do that. So we go and meet our friends there. And you
Trump's exceptional foreign policy approach
and they take you on a tour,
sets him apart
and you learn all kinds of neat things about these two amazing Americans. You learn about the bicycle shop. You learn about other things they were tinkering and messing with. It was all interesting
man,
stuff.
this is like a caricature.
And you learn all about the family and the house and everything else. The last stop on the tour, it's Orville's bedroom. You're there and they tell you a few more things about this particular Wright brother. And then they finish the tour by showing you two pictures. First picture they hold up was that very first flight, 1903, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, in this thing they called a plane. And you looked at that picture and you're like, how did that thing get off the ground? I mean, this contraption, how did it, the truth is it barely did. Flew like 100 feet, got like 10 feet off the ground. And you look at that and you kind of remember that from school when you learned that in 8th, 9th grade, whenever they teach you that. And you're like, okay, that's kind of interesting. They put that picture down, and then they hold up a second picture. 44 years later, 1947, Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier in a jet. And I was like, wow, I didn't remember that. Maybe I wasn't paying attention that day in school. I didn't know that. That's amazing. In 44 years, we went from two guys flying 100 feet in a thing they called a plane to another American breaking the sound barrier in a jet. And they put that picture down. Literally, that's the end of the tour. And Polly and I start walking out that door, and as we're walking out, it hit me. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why did they stop there? I represent Wapakoneta, Ohio, hometown of Neil Armstrong, who
Well, they don't
22 years
actually
later
know what's
stepped on
going
the
on.
moon. Stop and think about it. In 66 years, we went from 2 Americans flying 100 feet to putting a man on the moon. This country did that in one lifetime. I would argue there is
can't
no
even see
other nation
Twitch.
capable of doing something like that.
Ruh-roh.
Only this country. So don't ever let anyone tell you this is not the greatest nation ever and it's worth fighting for. God bless you all. Have a great day.
Here at the NRA. Hey, I want to remind everybody to thank our partners over at the Birch Gold Group. They have been a specialist in precious metals and gold. They will have a free information kit they want to get to you. Just simply text the words Trump to 989898. Trump to 989898. They'll send you a free information kit so that you can take that first step in investing in gold and precious silvers. They want you to protect your savings and wealth. Please text the words Trump to 989898. Our friends over at the Birch Grove Group want to send you a free information kit. We are moments away from President Trump here at the NRA. Back to the speakers.
In Cincinnati, Ohio. I used to spend a lot of time here. My dad, came over from India to this country. We used to ask him, why'd you come halfway around the world to Cincinnati, Ohio? He said he had to be close to his sister who lived in Indiana. That, of course, begged the question of why his sister came halfway around the world to Fort Wayne, Indiana. And we joke around, it's the only U.S. state with the word India contained in the name of the state. It's good to be back. I actually came from the campaign trail here from New Hampshire. We're on a bus tour. I started this morning with an event. I'm going to be speaking at an event tonight in New Hampshire. But I came here to be with you in person, actually. I didn't want to be one of those career politicians that checks the box, speak to you by Zoom on NRA or whatever. I wanted to be here in person to deliver a personal message. I came here to tell you why I became a gun owner. I'm going to be really honest with you. Came from an immigrant family with an emphasis on math and science. I grew up in an anti-gun household. We didn't grow up hunting. We didn't go sport shooting. I could probably, if I'm being honest with you, tell you I've gone to the shooting range probably less than I can count on 2 hands. I like it plenty, but it's not my main hobby. I'm not going to act like something else. But the reason I became a gun owner is that the Second Amendment was made for moments like today. I'll tell you this. Somebody out there, I was walking the halls, asked me a question. He said, what kind of gun do you own? I said, I own an AR-15. He gave me a little quiz. He said, what does that stand for? I said, you don't know what it stands for? It stands for freedom. That's the real answer, actually. I'm going to read you a quote, actually. I'm going to read you a quote from the Constitution. I brought it with me just for you guys because it relates to the speech here I'm about to give you. Here's the quote. No authority has the right to infringe upon political independence or the right to abrogate individual freedoms. Sounds pretty good. That is a quote from Article 9 of the Constitution of Iran. Iran has 177 articles in their constitution. We have 10 amendments in our Bill of Rights. They have 177 of them. But you know what they don't have? They don't have a Second Amendment, which means you don't get any of those out of 177 either. They banned their citizens from owning guns. That's how it works in Iran. That's not just an exception. Let me read you a quote from a different constitution of a different nation. The unlawful detention or deprivation of freedom is prohibited. The unlawful search of persons of citizens is prohibited. Too bad that's from the Constitution of China, which will tell you that they offer the same freedoms they do here in the United States. But you know what the difference is? In China, they don't have a Second Amendment. They ban their citizens from owning a gun. That is what makes America's Bill of Rights a reality rather than just an American dream. It is the fact that we have a Second Amendment that gives teeth to every one of the other amendments in that Constitution. Even we haven't been perfect in this country. I want you to raise your hand if you know when the first anti-gun laws were passed in this country. Raise your hand if you do. 1865. You want to know when it happened? We fought a civil war in this country to give black Americans the equal protection under the law that we failed to secure them in 1776. But then you want to know what happened? Southern states passed anti-gun laws that stopped black people from owning guns. The Democrat Party then, as in now, wanted to put them back in chains. That's exactly what they wanted to do. That is how you got Jim Crow. That is how you got to Martin Luther King Jr. being denied his concealed carry permit wrongly by J. Edgar Hoover's FBI, just as the FBI today politicizes its behavior against its political opponents today. That is not right. That is not America. And you want to know who fixed that problem? It's you all, actually, who fixed that problem. The NRA is the one that got the job done by securing the rights of black Americans to own guns, that trained black Americans in this country to own guns. It was the NRA that got that done. And as a first-generation American with brown skin myself, let me tell you, thank you for what you did, because I grew up in this country in the 1990s where we enjoyed the freedoms that the Second Amendment secured. That's the other freedoms in the Bill of Rights. That's the America I know. Thank you. But the America I grew up in is not the America that I see today. Today we have a country that says you enjoy free speech rights, yet Douglas Mackey is now facing up to 10 years in prison for making a joke on the internet about Hillary Clinton. We tell you that you have property rights in this country, yet they will use your pension funds to advance political agendas, like telling gun manufacturers that they can't borrow money from banks. They will tell you that we live in a country where we elect the people who actually run the government, and yet the party in power will use police power to arrest its chief political rivals who are former presidents of the United States. That is not the America that I knew or grew up in. That is not the America that I learned to pledge allegiance to as a nation. And the only thing standing in their way is the Second Amendment, which is why they're now going after the Second Amendment itself. They tell you that now if you own a pistol brace, you got to be effectively added to a gun registry. They'll tell you they want to pressure credit card companies to track transactions to add you to that same federal gun registry. The state of Washington just last week banning the owning of AR-style rifles. Gun manufacturers not being able to borrow money from banks. They'll now tell you the state of New York, believe this or not, if you want to get a concealed carry permit, New York is now saying that you got to submit your social media profiles. Let me guess how this one's going to play out, all right? So BLM or Antifa, no problem. There's your gun. Couple of American flags, maybe you're a domestic terrorist, okay? Not very hard to predict this one. And isn't it funny that it's the very states and cities that will tell you they want to defund the police and clear the jails that'll also be the ones that stop you from actually defending yourself against the crime that their policies create. You know what's interesting is one of those cities is Austin, Texas, where Sergeant Daniel Perry was wrongly convicted for defending himself against a Black Lives Matter rioter who was pointing a rifle at him. Self-defense is not a crime in this country, and I stand with Governor Greg Abbott in making sure that he receives a pardon as he is due. Thank you. The Second Amendment is our last line of defense. And you want to know who knew that? Our founding fathers knew it. They knew more than we give them credit for. You know, the first shots that were fired in Lexington, in Concord, it was because the British monarchy came to take the guns of the colonists. They came to take the guns because they knew where the guns and bullets were stored. Think of that gun registry today. That's what the British monarchy knew. Where our founding fathers said, you know what? What the British monarchy did to us, we will create a government to make sure that government never does it to you. That is why they included the Second Amendment. In God we trust, they said. It's on the bottom of our coins. It's on the bottom of our dollar bills for a reason, because when we say in God we trust, that means that in government we distrust. That is what it means to be American. That is who we are. We are the explorers. We are the pioneers who came to this country, whose parents came to this country, whose forefathers came to this country to be free, to be the explorers, to roam the American terrain without any government telling them what they could or couldn't do. And the reason we're able to do it is because of the existence of that Second Amendment. Now, I'll tell you, you hear from the other side that, well, we have school shootings in this country. We have mass shootings. I'll tell you, there's not a person in this room that wants to see another school shooting in this country. You want to have the courage to deal with it, then step up and deal with the actual problem. We have a mental health epidemic across America. You want to do something, you can ban social media and kids under the age of 15 or 16 before you take guns away from law-abiding adults in America. You want to solve the problem, you better take away. You want to solve the drugs on the street. You want to use our military. Don't go out to protect somebody else's border. Protect our border here in the United States and end the fentanyl crisis. That is how you solve the problem. The fatherlessness epidemic. 25% of kids are born into families without a household. Black Lives Matter says they want to annihilate the nuclear family structure. You want to know what I say? The nuclear family structure is the best known form of governance to mankind. We actually need to bring back the family, because that's actually what creates the shooting problems in this country. Fix the problem. Now, that mental health epidemic, where did it come from? It didn't start in a vacuum. Okay, it started because we are lost in the desert. I'm going to tell you something about myself. I'm 37 years old. I was born in 1985. I'm the first millennial candidate ever to run for U.S. president as a Republican. I'm going to speak to you on behalf of my generation. I'm going to tell you something about us. I think it's true about all of us of every age, actually, in this country. We are lost. We are hungry for a cause. We're hungry for purpose and meaning and identity, when the things that used to fill that purpose, like faith, patriotism, hard work, family, these things have disappeared. Wokeness, gender ideology, transgenderism, the climate cult, COVID cult have taken their place. You ask someone my age, what does it mean to be an American? You get a blank stare in response. That is the problem at the heart of our national soul. And if we can answer what it means to be an American today, that is how you stop the spread of anxiety and depression and uncertainty and self-doubt. So what does it mean to be American? It means you believe in basic ideas like merit, the idea that you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, as Martin Luther King said it, but on the content of your character and your contributions, which is why I'll end race-based affirmative action in America. Means you believe in the rule of law, that people like my parents who want to come to this country can come through the front door and make their contributions, but I am sorry, your first act of entering this country cannot be a law-breaking one. That is not racist or xenophobic. It is what it means to be American. It means we believe. Thank you. It means we believe in free speech and open debate, because I'll tell you this, free speech is a condition for peace in America. You tell people they cannot speak, that is when they scream. You tell people they cannot scream, that is when they tear things down. Our founding fathers knew that as well as anybody. They had a dream in this country. It's the dream that I have as a citizen, that the people who we elect to run the government in America ought to be the people who actually run the government in America, not this permanent state administrative bureaucracy that actually runs the show. And that is why we need to get in there and shut down that federal bureaucracy. I'll tell you where I'll start. Let's start with the Department of Education. 83, thank you. Let me hear it. $83 billion a year spent on God knows what, foisting race and gender ideology onto our kids. Shut that down for a quarter of that budget. I've done the math on this. You can put 3 armed security guards in every school across this nation. You tell me what's a better use of money. I've also said that we need to go further. When you have an agency like that FBI that told Martin Luther King he couldn't have that concealed permit, that now tells conservatives effectively the same thing, politicizing the police state against them, you can't reform that from the top
there we go.
That is why I've said what you're not supposed to say, but I'm saying it tonight. I will say it again. We will shut down the FBI and replace it with a police apparatus that actually respects the law instead of making it up. And that apparatus can actually do the job.
Wow, it's
of
just
those
like straight
background
fear-mongering.
checks,
This is impressive.
which means that tonight I'm pleased to
How
make
fun.
the announcement that if I'm elected next president of the United States, we will finally shut down the ATF.
Oh,
an
this
agency
dude's
that
running
is
for
beyond
president.
repair. That is the right answer left in the country. And while we're at it, let's make constitutional carry the law of the land and finally put any ban on those efforts to actually make that federal gun registry, because they want to be able to find you just like the British monarch wanted to find the colonists. We're not going to let that happen. So the thing is, I'll say this in closing. Okay. Our founding fathers, they knew what we were doing. We celebrate today our diversity and our differences. If we get this right, we can actually stand up to the real foreign policy threats that we face. You want China not to invade Taiwan? Here's something we can do. The NRA can open its branch next time in Taiwan. And you want to stop Xi Jinping from invading Taiwan? Put a gun in every Taiwanese household. Have them defend themselves. Let's see what Xi Jinping does then. That is what it means to be an actual American. Train them how to use guns, just like we did to black people in this country after the Civil War. Taiwan, we're coming for you. We're with you, Taiwan. Put a gun in every household. China ain't gonna do a peep. Xi Jinping got nothing on us. That is what it means to be American. Do not celebrate your diversity and your differences. We need to go back and remember all the ways we're really just the same as Americans, bound by that common set of ideals that set this nation into motion 250 years ago. E pluribus unum. From many, one. You see, that is the dream that won the American Revolution. That is the dream that reunited us after that Civil War. That is the dream that won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is the dream that still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over this fractious group identity nonsense, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about, and that is what we will revive to save this great nation. Thank you. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
In Indianapolis, Indiana, at the NRA National Convention, President Donald J. Trump moments away here. We've been live throughout the mid-afternoon. We appreciate you joining us here for this very important broadcast. I want to remind everybody to go to our social media as well. You can follow us at RSBN across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and some other platforms as well. We're happy for you to join us. And if you also missed any of our earlier broadcasts, you can always go back and rewatch that on Rumble. Welcome, everybody. Brian Glenn live here in Indianapolis, Indiana, as we are moments away from President Trump taking the stage once again here at the NRA. I remember the last NRA we covered down in Houston right after the Uvalde shooting. And, of course, a lot of the things that we've heard today has reflected on the past abuse of the firearms and the attempt to take them away from us as far as the gun grabbers goes. We've had Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota,
gun grabbers
just recently and spoke to the crowd here. Big reception. Jim Jordan as well, delivering some words of encouragement. And I really, in the theme tonight, we've had several people that are actually on the presidential candidacy list for the 2024 election. And it's interesting to hear some of the aggressive language to basically protect our rights on our Second Amendment, and it's something that I think the crowd here has wanted to see. Let me step aside because I do want you to show the crowd. We haven't really done that today. I said this when I first came in. I put it up on my social media. It is a packed house, and it's been packed house here from the very beginning of this speaker's schedule here, which started about 2 p.m. here locally. It's been packed to the gills. You can see people are lined up along the sides as well. Wait, moments to wait. We're live here in NRA. Let's go back to the speakers.
30 years ago, I'm having lunch at a New York hotel, and I saw our next guest across the room in a sea of people. I knew who he was, the Big Apple's biggest real estate developer, but he didn't know me. So I'm eating my sandwich when all of a sudden I see a hand reaching out to me to shake mine, and I hear, "Hey, Wayne, I'm a big supporter of your organization." And that's when a friendship began that I've cherished this day. He's never let us down and never will. Take a look at this video, please.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings, and we're not.
Inflation in the U.S. is now at 6.5% higher in December compared to a year ago.
A state of emergency at the Texas border.
We turn to the other news this Sunday night and to the somber homecoming for the 13 brave Americans killed in Thursday's attack at the Kabul airport.
You're a golfer.
Yeah.
Why don't you just play golf? Why would you want to give up a great life and go back to that hellhole?
Because I love the country.
Donald Trump wins the presidency.
Crews break ground on a new section of wall along the U.S.-Mexico border.
We have seen month after month of solid job growth.
We are going to make our country great again. But you are going to be so proud of your country, because we're going to turn it around.
We're going to turn it around.
Come over and see the fake news. Let's go. We will bring back our jobs.
We will bring back our jobs.
Borders. No challenge can match the heart and fight and spirit of America.
No challenge
can. You with every breath in my body, and
what
I
a
will
fucking
never,
joke.
ever let you down. My fellow Americans, our movement is far from over. In fact, our fight has only just begun.
Be advised, the president is
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 45th President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Fucking cringe.
Forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you, and they met her still today. But there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American.
American heart, and it's time we stand and say to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
No, son of a bitch.
And defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the
Well, thank you very much. And
Got that patriotic fervor going hard.
well, thank you very much. And I'm thrilled to be back with the hardworking, God-fearing, card-carrying patriots of the NRA. Thank you very much, everybody. As a candidate in 2016, I promised you that I would save your Second Amendment from absolute obliteration. That's where it was going. And
That's where
as
it
your
was
president,
going.
that's exactly what I did. We saved our Second Amendment, and we're going to save it for a long time to come. It's under siege, but we're going to save it for a long time to come.
Save it for a
Forever,
long
as far as I'm
time.
concerned,
I'm
forever.
super
Thank
save
you
it for
very
a
much.
long time.
So I was proud to be the most pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment president you've ever had in the White House. I think that's
I'm the
very
best
proud.
president they've ever had in the
Your
White House.
support in 2024, I will be your loyal friend and fearless champion once again as the 47th President of the United States. And we have to remember, in 2016, we won the first time, and we did better the second time, got a lot more votes. A lot of bad things happened, though, didn't they, huh? A lot of bad things happened. I want to thank Wayne LaPierre and Charles Cotton for their leadership, as well as all of the people that work with them, the NRA members
That's
who make up
insane. He's
this
still.
incredible organization. And it's really a tremendous force for freedom. That's what it is, and I'm very proud to be here. Thanks as well to Congressman Jim Jordan and his incredible wife, Polly. Where is Jim? He's around here someplace. Where's Jim? And also with them came along Isaac. You know, Isaac is a wrestler, 4-time All-American. If anybody's into sports even a little bit, 4-time All-American's good. And Jim was a great wrestler. A lot of people don't know that. And his daughter-in-law, Brooke, and she's about to have a baby. I said, when is the baby coming? She said, it could be today or tomorrow. I said, what are you doing here? But he's a spectacular congressman, politician, and person. And so I just want to thank Jim and the whole family. And Polly, thank you very much for being here. And somebody that I believe is going to be, and a friend of Jim, is going to be your next senator from the great state of Indiana, which I love
Oh,
so
Google.
much. Jim Banks. Where's Jim Banks? Jim Banks. Jim. Hi, Jim. He's so popular now, he's unopposed. We like it that way, don't we? Thank you very much, Jim. You're doing fantastically well. Indiana Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Suzanne, where's Suzanne? Suzanne, thank you very much. And also Attorney General Todd Rokita. Todd, where's Todd? He's someplace
Rokita.
where I saw him. It's a big crowd, Todd. That's a big crowd. Thank you very much. Great job, Todd. Doing a great job.
Just
The 70
jacking
years
them all
old is
off.
here today
Fucking
have been
Christ.
engaged in an epic struggle against the corrupt forces and communist maniacs, and they're all over the place.
And they're all over the
That are
place. Fuck, he's
absolutely
funny though,
trying to
man.
destroy our country. They want to take away your guns while throwing open the jailhouse doors and releasing bloodthirsty criminals into your communities. They want to abolish your borders and impoverish your families while spending your money on endless and very, very stupid foreign wars. They want to demonize patriots and persecute Christians while pushing the transgender cult on your children. Children turn 25 and they say, "Who did this to me? Who did this to me? How did you let this happen?" They want to weaponize and interfere with our elections through the use of the DOJ, the FBI, and local attorney generals and district attorneys. That's happening to me, but we're doing very well, thank you. It's actually called election interference. That's all they want to do. I'll tell you what, if I weren't running, which isn't going to happen, or if I was doing badly in the polls, and we're not going to let that happen either. We're killing them in the polls. Are you seeing the numbers? They wouldn't be doing anything. They'd be after somebody else. They wouldn't be talking, but we're going to show you some of the polls in a little while. You're going to be amazed. We really made a lot of progress over the last month. We put it into high gear like we did for 4 years when this country had no problems. And then COVID came in and we got it back. When you think about it, it was amazing. And we actually left it with a stock market that was higher than just pre-COVID coming in. It was an amazing job that we did. We built it twice, but there was nothing like it. I mean, there was nothing like it. What we did in those 4 years were really monumental. Rebuilt our military, largest tax cuts in history, largest regulation cuts in history. The creation of Space Force, that was a big deal. That was a big deal. And so many other things. Even Right to Try, I hope nobody needs it. Right to Try, where you can use this advanced medical treatments that won't be approved for 5 or 6 years by the FDA, but we got them to move a lot faster, I will tell you on everything, but won't be approved by the FDA for years, and we've saved thousands and thousands of lives with Right to Try, but we did a lot. We did a lot. "2024 is the year that we will defeat these nation-wrecking globalists, Marxists, rhinos, and tyrants once and for all." The rhinos are in there in many ways. In many ways, the rhinos are worse because you don't know where they're coming from. You say, "Oh, that's a rhino. We don't like that one." At least with the Democrats, you know where they're coming from, and that's not a good place, is it? If you put me back in the White House, their reign is over, and America will be a free nation once again. And I promise you this, with me at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, no one will
The
lay
level
a
of pander
finger
is
on
unbelievable.
your
Also, why are
firearms,
you
just
not
as
working,
took
Cat?
place for 4 years
How
when I
long
was
have
your
you been not
president.
working?
I will uphold those glorious words, "shall not be infringed." You know those words? I think you know those words. You know those words? Every
Isn't it
pledge I
working?
made to you as a candidate in 2016, I fulfilled as your president. I appointed nearly 300 federal judges to fill the bench with pro-Constitution warriors who interpret the law as written. We have great judges, a lot of great justices, almost 300, a record. I faced down vile attacks from the radical left to confirm 3 great Supreme Court justices. You know who they are: Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, all outstanding people.
Okay, I think it's working.
They don't help me much, I got to tell you that. They vote against me too much, but one of those little things in life, right? But they are outstanding people and great scholars, brilliant, and they've done a very good job. I always say, except for me, they've done a very good job. Standing before you, show your tax returns. That wasn't supposed to happen, right? Show your tax returns. I thought that wasn't supposed to happen. And by the way, I showed them, and you know what happened? Nothing. They said, this guy made a lot of money. Standing before you at the NRA Leadership Forum in 2019, I revoked America's signature from the globalist United Nations Arms Trade Treaty, which was a disaster. I never surrendered to the globalist left, and I always put our term, America first. Very simple, America first. I canceled Barack Hussein Obama's corrupt use of Social Security data to deny Americans their gun rights without due process of law. You know that very well in this auditorium. I fought Obama's unconstitutional effort to ban 3D printed guns. I stood up for our hunters, fishers, and sportsmen like no other president has ever done before, opening up millions of acres of federal land and rolling back Obama's assaults on hunting, fishing, trapping, and on ammunition itself. When the radical left Democrats tried to use COVID to shut down gun sales during the China virus pandemic, I proudly designated gun and ammunition retailers as critical infrastructure.
China virus, it's evolved.
It saved all of them. A lot of them are in the room with us today. My administration also petitioned the Supreme Court to overturn New York City's unconstitutional, so many unconstitutional things are taking place in these Democrat-run cities. But it was an unconstitutional ban on transporting handguns outside of the home. And in a landmark case last June, the court affirmed that the right to self-defense does not end when you step outside the front door of your house. And we did all of this, and we did so much more. We're working now and going to finish everything that we started. We finished a lot of it already in the 4 years, but we have things to do and we have things to finish, and we're going to get that done. And we're going to have a big, big, successful election coming up. We're going to take back that beautiful, gorgeous White House. On day one of my new term,
Figured it learned his lesson not to shit on the way though.
Lawful gun owners. It's a war. It's a what they're doing is crazy. So many things are great. Let's see, no borders, high taxes, everything they do. You know, I made a speech recently and I used this term and I didn't even know we were using it, but I used it. Every day is like April Fool's Day. We want no borders. No, no. No, you got to have borders. We want no walls. No, no, you got to have walls. Everything is like the opposite. This is April Fool's, right? We want high taxes. No, no, we want to keep our taxes low. We want no guns. No, no, we want people to be able to protect themselves and also enjoy it as entertainment and go out and hunt and do the things that you want to do. It's almost like April Fool's. Everything that they do is like, we want to have a weak military. We want our military to be woke. You know, we rebuilt the entire U.S. military. We had planes that were 48 years old. We built brand new, beautiful jets. We had planes where the grandfathers were flying the same plane as the grandson. But we rebuilt our entire military. I mean, I hate to say this, we gave $85 billion of it to the Taliban in Afghanistan in probably the most embarrassing single moment in the history of our country, which I believe led to Russia going in. They would have never done that with us, but I believe it led to that and led to a lot of bad things. That was the most embarrassing period of time, I think, in our nation's history. Not only that, the soldiers killed, 13 killed, many just horribly, horribly wounded, hurt, no arms, no legs, faces were just so badly hurt. And we left a lot of people there, too. And then we gave up Bagram Air Base, the big air base, 1 hour from where China makes its nuclear weapons. You should have never given that up. And I call it a surrender. We actually surrendered. We were in great shape. You know, if you look back on that history, you're going to see something that was interesting. I dealt with Abdul. Abdul was the leader of the Taliban. And I took a lot of heat from all of those fake news people back there. And they said, why do you call Abdul? Abdul is the leader of the Taliban. They're the ones that were fighting and fighting hard. And I related to Jesse James. They say, well, Jesse James, the great bank robber, great outlaw. They said, why do you always rob banks, Jesse? He said, because that's where the money is. So when I dealt with Abdul, he's the one that was shooting our young soldiers and others with snipers and lots of other things. And I said, Abdul, you can't do that. You can't do that over the phone. You do that, you're going to suffer like nobody's ever suffered. Your whole community is going to be terrible. We'll hit you harder than anybody's ever been hit. He said, Your Excellency, why but why do you send me a picture of my home? I said, Abdul, you're going to have to figure that one out for yourself. But you know what? We didn't lose one soldier in 18 months. Now think of it. Not one soldier was even shot at. They were at bay, and we were going to get out with pride and with dignity. We were going to take all of our equipment out. I told the generals, I want every screw, I want every bolt, I want every tank, I want every plane, I want every helicopter, I want everything out. Sir, can we leave the hangars, you know, those big canvas-covered hangars? Nope, they come out, General. Sir, I think it would be a lot easier to leave the equipment behind. This was Milley. That's when I realized he's a fool. I said, so you mean to tell me, General, that if we have a $100 million airplane sitting there, you want to leave that, and you think that's a good thing? Leave the airplane, leave the helicopters, which they did. Leave all of this very expensive. We could just fill it up with a little jet fuel and fly it to Pakistan or fly it home. Yes, sir, I think it would be a good idea to leave it. That's where these ideas came from. Can you imagine we left $85 billion worth of equipment in Afghanistan? And I just read a report the other day that they are about the second largest seller of arms in the whole world. We sell more than they do, a little bit, but they're the second largest. Can you imagine that? Because they don't need 700,000 rifles. You know, we left behind, talking about guns, NRA, 700,000 guns and rifles, some of them the finest in the world. Some of them even are people right up here that are so wealthy, I know them, they wish they could afford guns like we left behind for the Taliban. Think of it, 700,000, 70,000 vehicles, many of them armor-plated, costing millions of dollars apiece. We left it all behind like a bunch of fools. We're led by stupid people. And let me tell you, we've never been in such danger.
No, we can agree on that one, Trump.
I believe it's the most dangerous time in the history of our country because of the power of weaponry. And I'm not talking about rifles now. You know what I'm talking about. The N-word. Can't use the N-word. 2 N-words you can't use. Can't use the nuclear word. The power of these
Hilarious.
weapons. And I would never talk about it. I didn't talk about it. And now it's talked about every single day, including by Putin. The power of these
Hilarious.
weapons. You know we're a great nuclear power. He says that publicly now. He never said that when I was here. Because you don't talk about it. It's too destructive. You don't talk about it. Now they're talking about it all the time, and we have somebody that has no idea what it is. We've never been in such danger because of our